Alright, so what to look for when buying your first gaming PC. Now, this is a very, very key topic. You know, a lot of people just getting started in the, PC gaming, buying their first PCs. They want to know, what would actually be the best PC for them and the most affordable PC for them. Now, I'm here to tell you guys that the key question to this is, you got to know your parts. You got to know your PC parts, what you're actually buying. Now, pre-built PCs can be okay, depending on, how you want your PC to be. So if you want to spend $1,500 on a pre-built PC, you got to make sure the part in that PC is worth $1,500, so to say. If you're coming from me, I would tell you to, don't buy a pre-built PC. I would, buy the parts myself and actually build a PC yourself. That is the most affordable route for you and the most dependable route for you, because you're going to be able to upgrade in the long run. You're going to be able to, buy additional parts that will save you money pretty much. Now, the most key part in this whole video is, if you're going to buy your first PC, how would you do it? Ready? You would have to know what the PC is going to do for you, pretty much. So if you want to be able to stream, if you want to be able to game, if you want to be able to do both, you're going to have to cater in the factor of going a little bit more expensive on the PC for a one PC setup for gaming and streaming, so to say. If I were to buy a gaming PC, I would need to think of 3 parts that I definitely need in my PC, and that's all I'm going to really say. Besides, buying a keyboard like this, or buying a mouse like this, or buying a monitor, as you guys can see right here above me. Besides all that, because obviously you're going to have to factor all that stuff in, the 3 components that you definitely need in a PC to get you started and to get you thinking about buying your first PC is the CPU, the GPU, and also the motherboard. Now, if you think about the CPU is kind of like the brain of the PC. The motherboard is kind of like the placeholder of the PC. Think of a mom, right? A mom has a baby, right? The mom is the brain, the baby is, let's say, the GPU, right? And let's say the mom has a belly, right? The mom gets pregnant, right? The mom's belly gets big. The mom needs the belly as the motherboard to have the placeholder for all the components for the mom's brain and for the baby, of course, the GPU. Think of it like that, so to say. Now, for me, my PCs, they're pretty high tier. I've come a long way with my PCs. I'm not gonna really talk about that too much. I'll show you guys in later. But what you need to do is think about, like I said again, the CPU, the GPU, and the motherboard. Start right there. If you start right there, you're gonna be good to go, pretty much, because once you have those key components, you literally can just buy everything else. Like I said again, the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse. You could buy a power supply that's going to help you power those components. You'll buy the memory, you'll buy, the cooling stuff like the CPU cooler, the fans, the case. Obviously you have to chip in all of that, and also the storage hard drive, the SSD. You have to chip in all that, but just start from the CPU, the GPU, and the motherboard, and you will definitely be good to go, because those are the main key factors that's going to make that PC good, so to say, if you think about it, okay? So think about that when you're looking for your first gaming PC, okay? Don't go out buying all this stuff and not doing your research. Please don't do that, okay? That will mess you up in the long run, and it could mess you up quick. Because you could buy a PC, a pre-built PC or whatever, without knowing it, and what if it doesn't run Call of Duty Warzone? Or what if it doesn't run the new Halo? Or what if it doesn't run better than the PlayStation 5? So you bought a PC and it doesn't run better than the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. Think about that. But you paid more for it. So you gotta be very smart in this game when it comes to PCs. So do your research. Stay tuned to my channel, of course, because I'm going to be helping you guys out with PCs and gaming stuff and all this tech stuff. So yeah, stay tuned, hit that notification bell, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, you guys know the drill. So what I'm about to show you is, I'm going to show you how to actually find the good parts. So the CPU, the GPU, the motherboard. I'm going to tell you off of this video, the 3 things that can help you build the PC from the start, okay? Now, quickly, I'm going to show you guys my setup real quick, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. All right, so this is my setup right here. As you guys see in my room, I have one PC that is my gaming PC, the big PC right over here. And then I have another PC right here that is my streaming PC. That is kind of the smaller PC that I use to stream. Pretty much do all the encoding, do all of the heavy workload when it comes to streaming. The gaming side, I'm running my game, I'm running some music in the background if I want to, and I'm doing like some content creation stuff. So doing some rendering for uploading YouTube videos and stuff like that. That is basically the most powerful PC out of both of my PCs. That one is pretty powerful as well. But yeah, that's a little take on my PC. I will go in depth on my PC. I have an i9 9900K in my gaming PC and a 2070 Super for my GPU. All right, so right off the bat, let's take a look. Let's go into System Builder. Let's go into PCPartPicker.com. If you guys want to know a good site to basically start your build, learn some knowledge on PCs and parts and stuff like that, this is the greatest site for you. This is not an advertisement. I have no sponsors when it comes to PC stuff and gaming stuff. I would love to have sponsors to direct you guys to the best possible products for you guys. But right off the bat, as you guys can see, just go on this website, boom. If you want to create a build, start your build, whatever, I would go right into System Builder, okay, right at the top right here. And then I would go to CPU. Start from CPU. The CPU is the first one. Great. Now, what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to know what you want, and as opposed to, do you want to go with a budget PC or do you want to go with a PC that is going to be more reliable for you in the long run, right? Now, AMD and Intel are both great CPUs, great companies. They both have different traits. I'm more of an Intel type of guy, just because I like to render at high points. AMD is also good with that as well. AMD seems to be better in the gaming aspect. I've never tried AMD, so I can't really tell you to buy AMD. I can tell you to buy Intel because I have an Intel and I have an i9 9900K and it's great for me. But AMD is also good as well. I'm going to start with Intel because I'm more familiar with Intel. So what I'm going to do is, if you see right on this left side, I'm going to select the manufacturer and I'm going to go to Intel. I'm going to keep Intel and I'm going to look at all the CPUs by price, okay? And basically, I'm going to narrow one down what I want, okay? Now, when you select a CPU, remember, not all CPUs work with all motherboards, okay? Motherboards meaning, like I said again, the babies, the belly, remember the mom, the belly, that is the motherboard. That is going to hold all of the components and give it resource pretty much, right? Now let's take a look, okay? You got an i7 9700K, Intel Core i7 9700K. This one goes for about $260, okay? It has an 8-core processor, and I think it's about, how many threads? I don't even know how many threads this has, actually. 8-core processor. Just look at the cores, ready? 8 cores, 3.6 gigahertz. You can clock it up, which means overclock it to 4.9 gigahertz, which is pretty good. Really good, actually, I have this CPU as well, actually. I have the CPU right here in my hand. Yeah, I have the CPU right here. This is the i7 9700K. I bought it. I used it a little bit. It is a good CPU, but I find the i9 9900K a lot better. Now, this is this CPU right here. It is an 8-core, 12 thread, I believe, 3.6 gigahertz. But clocked at a 5.1 gigahertz. I don't know why it says 5 gigahertz. It's a 5.1 gigahertz clock. 95 watt. This CPU is $400 right now in the market. I got it for I paid $500 for this actually when it first came out. This CPU is god tier when it comes to gaming. I love this CPU. I really do. Now, obviously, there's better CPUs out now that you can get. But this CPU, like I said again, is a god tier CPU. If I were to tell you to get a CPU right now that'll be affordable for you and pretty much reliable and will get the job done, not only get the job done, but do very good in FPS. And if you want a good CPU, go with the i7 9700K. It's going to save you money, okay? Yeah, you can go with the i9 9900K. It's better, obviously, but The i7 9700K is still good. It'll, you'll still be able to use it. It is 8 cores. I don't know how many threads. I keep forgetting. I don't want to give you guys misinformation, but the i7 9700K at $260 versus the i9 9900K at $400. If you have that extra money, go with the i9 9900K. If you want a affordable one and still get the job done as much as the i9, I would say get the 9700K. I would. Now, obviously, if you were to sell in the long run, if you wanted to try to sell the i9 9900K, it's going to be worth more, obviously, because it is a better CPU. It is more up to date, I guess you could tell you. But both of them, they can run on the same motherboard and pretty much get the job done. Get the job done good too. So you won't be disappointed. Don't worry about that. But yeah, like I said again, i9 9900K or i7 9700K. Go for it. That's what I would start with in 2020, because the way things are looking right now, don't cheap out on the CPU is what I'm saying. Don't go with a budget CPU. Don't go with an i3. Don't go with an i5. You could go with an i5 depending on which version, but you're gonna want to go with an i7 or an i9 if you're going Intel. Just go with that. Don't cheap out. Always get a K for gaming, meaning 9700K, 9900K, 10700K. Always get a K. The Ks are always good for gaming. If you go with like a 9100F, 9400F, you're not going to be able to overclock. And yeah, that's never good, because you're going to want to be able to overclock. Just so you know. Now, I'll talk about a video. I'll make a video talking about, the Fs and all that other stuff, all those lower end CPUs. Always go for a K. Just always go for the K. Just think about that. All right. So next. So yeah, if I wanted to pick a, let's say i7, boom, I got that. Let's go back. Let me mark that down actually. Boom. Add that. Boom. So boom, $260 right off the bat. Like I said again, next would be motherboard. Now, for me, I like Gigabyte motherboards. So I'm gonna show you all the Gigabyte motherboards because that's what I have. Ready? Now for this CPU, like I said again, the CPU that you have is a 9700K by Intel. You can't put, like I said again, you can't put a CPU with any old motherboard. You can't do that. So you got to get a motherboard that is compatible with your CPU. So boom, now your stuff down. I'm going Gigabyte and I'm going to go Intel. So the socket that I use, as you guys can see right here, this is going to help you. The only socket that I can use for this CPU is the LGA 1151 socket. Boom. I'm going to click that. And boom, I'm gonna get all these motherboards. But first, I want to show you guys my motherboard and what I have. Okay. And hopefully you guys can see this. All right. Here's the GPU. We don't need to talk about that, but boom, I got 3 motherboards. Now these motherboards are different from each other, okay? They're going to be different from each other, right? Let's see if I can focus up. All right, nice. So I have a B365M D33H, which is basically a Gigabyte motherboard that is an entry-level motherboard. This can work with the CPU that we just bought, okay? This is a good motherboard. It's a good starter motherboard. It'll get the job done. How much does it go for? Let's see. Right here. This is the first motherboard that's popped up. Boom. $73. You can get this motherboard for $73. That is cheap. I think that's about the same I paid for. I think I paid $50 for it actually. That is cheap. The max memory you can get on this is 64 gigabytes, but don't worry about that. We're not talking about memory. Boom. My next motherboard. Now this is the motherboard that I have in my gaming PC currently, okay? This is the Z390 Master Aurora's Gigabyte motherboard. Gigabyte has very good motherboards. I'm not going to talk about it too much. Just know that it's good for cooling and stuff like that, okay? This motherboard right here, Mr. Old Reliable. I love this motherboard, man. My first motherboard that I ever bought. was this one. Actually bought. I bought a pre-built PC. I shouldn't have did that because I spent a lot of money on it. But boom, this motherboard, good to go. You can use your 9700K in this motherboard and a 9900K in this motherboard as well. Both of these motherboards. Now the next motherboard that I have is the Z490 Master. Z490. Now that was the Z390. This is the Z490. This motherboard is for 10th generation. That is 9th generation and 8th generation, I believe. 9th and 8th generation. So the i7 9700K and the i9 9900K will not fit on this motherboard. But if I go with the i7 10700K or the i7, i9 10700K, whatever, it has to be a 10th gen CPU in here. So the newest CPU out. This is for my streaming PC. I used to have for my streaming PC. Isn't that insane? But yeah. So if I wanted to buy the Z390 Aurorus Master or Aurorus Elite, if I wanted to save some money, boom, I could get one for $160. I can get a Z390 Aurorus Elite for $160. If I wanted a Master, they're kind of out of stock with the Masters. It's going to be hard to find that. So you're not going to be able to get a Master unless you somehow find one from a different site. But yeah, let's say if I just wanted an Elite. Boom. Go back to Gigabyte. All right. Let's say if I just wanted to buy this for $160. Boom. Or I can get an Ultra and you go a little bit more in the money, but I want to go a little bit cheap here. I don't want to go super cheap, but I want to go cheap. I'm going to buy this $160 one. Boom. The Elite is pretty good too. I don't know too much about it, but it's pretty good too. I could buy this right on Amazon. $160. So I'm running a total of $419. Now a high-end CPU would be more than $500. So I just bought a motherboard and a CPU for less than $500. Let that soak in, okay? Now a pre-built PC on NZXT or iBuy Power PC would be like $1,200 for these two parts right here. Okay, let that soak in. Now I didn't even put the, I didn't even put a GPU in yet. Now, besides all the other stuff like the CPU cooling, all that other stuff, power supply, all that other stuff, all that would be included with the iBuy Power pre-built PC, obviously. But these are the two parts that you definitely need, as opposed to the three components: GPU, CPU, and motherboard. Remember that. Okay. Now next, we're going with the GPU. The GPU is the last thing that you need to know in picking your parts. Now, we're not talking about picking everything. We're just talking about the CPU, the GPU, and the motherboard. Because those are the main components right there that is going to defer if you have a good PC or not for your first PC. Think about it. Okay? Okay, so here we go. Now, obviously, your manufacturer doesn't matter pretty much for the GPU. The one manufacturer I would probably say stay away. So like all these ones I don't really know too well. I would say go with AMD's pretty good. AMD is good, but I don't know too much about them, but they are good. So I'm gonna go with the ones that I know in general. So I'm gonna go with EVGA because I have one of those. Gigabyte is good. I know they're good. MSI is good. Nvidia is obviously good. I would stay away with like P and Y. They tend to have like bad cards, and Zotac, they tend to have pretty bad cards. So pretty much, I want to narrow it down to two. So I'll go with Nvidia and EVGA. Boom. Those are very good companies for GPUs. Boom. Okay. What card do I want? Do I want a high-end card, or do I want a card that's going to get the job done? Now, let me show you a card that I have right in my hand right now. This was my first GPU that I got with my pre-built PC. My pre-built PC ran me pretty expensive. Actually not that expensive. Actually not that expensive because the way people are buying PCs are a lot different than how I bought my PC. I bought my PC from someone. I didn't buy my PC from the store, okay? This GTX GeForce 1070 was my first GPU. Very good GPU. Still a pretty good GPU today. Not the best, obviously, but still good GPU today. It could run some games at 100 FPS today, like Call of Duty, maybe multiplayer. I don't know about Warzone, you need some high demand with that game for some reason. On those settings, okay? I love this GPU. Okay, I would consider this GPU. Let's look at this GPU right here and see how much it costs. Now, this GPU, the 1070, where is it? Okay, I see a 1070 Ti. Okay, 1070 by NVIDIA. This is the exact card that is by NVIDIA, the GTX 1070. Boom. Now you know what it looks like, guys. It is actually unavailable, and I'm going to tell you why it's unavailable. Right now, it's unavailable because it is a hot sale card. A lot of people love this card. It is reliable. It is cheap enough for you to buy and put into your build and be able to get the job done. So that's why you're not gonna be able to find it. Let's see if we can find a Ti. Nope, you can't find a Ti as well. What I would say to do in this day and age for 2020, I would say go to RTX. RTX is basically ray tracing. You don't need it, obviously, but that's what it is, right? It's a newer series card. Obviously, they came out with the RTX 30 series, which is obviously way more expensive. Actually, yeah, you could go with a 30 series card. It would be more expensive, but it's very powerful. Just say that. But let's take a look. So I have a 2060 Super in my streaming PC. This 2060 Super is $700. I would not buy that because you could just somehow find a 3070 and get that for what? I believe it's like $500 and it's more powerful. So when it comes to GPUs right now, the GPU market is very, very, very scarce right now in buying parts because of the 30 series cards that are out, but they're out of stock right now because people are buying them and scalping them and stuff like that. You want a 30 series card if you want to spend that money, but you don't want to buy a card that is like a 2060 Super and spend more than $600 for it, because that would be ridiculous. You could have just bought a 30 series card that is way more powerful. You see what I'm saying? So this is tough. This is very tough. Oh man, what I would say is, if I were giving you this advice right now, you watching this video, I would say wait. I would say buy a card that is kind of like a 1070 and just wait until another one comes available. I don't know how much these are now. I bought this for $150. I got it from somebody. I bought it for $150. I believe they're $250 now. What I would say is, looking at the cards right now, you got a 1660 Ti, which is pretty good, for $303. I would say that's a bad price, but if you wanted to say hurry up and wanted to buy one, I would buy that. If you were to buy a 2060 in 2020, it's gonna run you $400. $400 for a 2060. And then if you jump to a 2070 or a 2070 Super, that's gonna run you $1,000. The only reason why the market on the GPU is so high right now is because people are trying to buy their GPUs and sell them and stuff like that. And the market's just fluctuating right now. I would say save your money and just purchase a if you wanted it now, I would say purchase a 2060 for $400 and just sell it. Okay, when you're ready to upgrade. 2060 is good. A 2060 will get you running great games at great FPS without having a bad system. Okay, 1070 is also good too, but they're a rare card to find nowadays. Hopefully you can find one. I would say the 2060 or the 1070 would run you about $100, maybe $199, $220, depending on where you can find it. $250 in store. I would grab it. Or you could grab a 1650 Super. It's not gonna do super great for you, but it is what it is. Now in this market today, like I said again, it's gonna be hard to find a GPU. The prices are high because the 30 series cards. Until the 30 series cards stop, until the 30 series cards start selling to actual people and people start getting the cards, and you can be able to buy a 30 series cards, this market right here is going to stay up until that happens. So we won't see lower prices in GPUs until those 30 series cards actually start selling more and more, just so you guys know. So that's why the prices are so high right now, okay? They're so high. They're super high. But if I were to say to buy something right now, what card should you buy? That's a good question. You're not going to find a 1080 Ti. You know, that's going to be pretty hard, and it's going to be high. I would just say buy either a 1660 or a 1660 Ti, or try to find a 1070 for a reasonable price. What you don't want to do is buy a $500 card, whether it's a 2060 or 2070 or a 1070, and it be like $500, and then later on the 3070 or the 3060 comes out and it's like less than $500 or $500, and you lose out on that opportunity. I don't want to say that could happen. So right now is very scarce on buying something. I would say go lower in GPU right now and just save your money. Go with a 1660. Yeah, it's a 6 GB card. It's only $230. So let's see. Let's add that. Boom. 1660. It's not the best card, obviously, but it's going to run you about $657 total from the CPU and the GPU and the motherboard. That is a good price, okay? That is a good price. Yeah, you can find this GPU at a lesser price if you wanted to, or you could chalk up some change and buy a higher end, and that'll benefit you. But right there, I got a build for $700. The 3 components that I need. Everything else I can pretty much cheap out on, if you think about it. My memory, yeah, I basically need more than 12 gigabytes minimum. I need more than 12 gigabytes for my memory. My storage, I need a pretty good SSD. I don't have to have all the memory, but if I want to be able to have enough games, boom. Or I could just add a cheap hard drive in there, boom. That'll run me about, let's say if I got a SSD for $100, boom. A nice little SSD, boom. 500 gigs, boom. I got that right there. That's $757 total. Next would be the case, obviously. You're going to need to buy a case. A case, cheap case. That little case right there, my streaming PC, $50, $60 on sale. Boom. $60, add $50, whatever. $800. I got a case. Power supply, don't want to cheap out on that, but I could go with like a 550 watt. It's another $100. How much am I at right now? What did I say? 7? Okay, 8. I'm at like 850, I think. 850. Boom. I got a power supply and a storage device so far. Now I just need to get fans and a CPU cooler. Fans are pretty cheap. However many you want in the system, obviously, you can find some on eBay. Boom. You don't really need an operating system. Well, you can have one. They're easy they're pretty much free online. I'm not gonna really talk about that, but yeah. Software, you don't need software. You obviously would need a monitor, but we're not talking about that today. Obviously, go find a monitor from somewhere. Try to get some on Black Friday for free or for cheap. Try to find one, pretty much. But yeah, the minimum wattage that you need for this build is 285. So I could buy a 500 watt power supply and be fine. But that's another day. That's another day talking about that. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for the video. CPU, GPU, motherboard. Start with that. And then stay tuned for more videos, because I'm going to be talking about what you need to do next. What you need to buy next to help you not spend so much money on a pre-built PC. This is a $657 build right here. CPU, GPU, motherboard. Those are the 3 things that you need. You need all the other stuff too, but those are the main PC parts that you need that will determine if your PC is actually good. Right there. All right. I will be coming out with more videos. We will be doing a lot of testing stuff. I'm going to talk more about AMD as well and Intel as well. I have a lot of parts that I want to show you guys. We're going to be building PCs, doing all this other stuff. stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button. Like the video, of course. Be notified every single upload because we will be coming out with a lot of tech videos, PC gaming videos, all that good stuff. I hope you guys are going to stay tuned because it's going to get wild. It's going to be pretty cool. Stay tuned. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comment section if you guys have any questions. Follow me on Instagram. Let me know if you have any questions. DM me. I do stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Natepushweights. Come check out a stream. Say hello. Ask me any questions. And, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.